Hello, and thank you for joining me on the Vision Victory channel. I want to do several personal finance videos in the next few weeks. Between my Friday news updates, I get a lot of personal finance questions. I, probably get 1,000 in a month in regards to 401ks, credit card debt, auto loans, walking away from your house, all that stuff. So I want to cover all that stuff in the next few weeks. One of the things I want to cover, or at least the first thing I want to cover, is the question I avoid the most, and that is people with credit card debt. And of course, I want to start this video off by saying that I'm not a financial planner or advisor, an attorney, CPA. So of course, you need to contact these guys before you make a major financial decision. You should contact a bankruptcy attorney, your CPA, see what you're doing is going to affect your taxes, as well as a licensed financial planner or advisor. I think, in my opinion, you should contact somebody from Euro Pacific Capital because they're in touch with what's going on. Calling somebody from Ameriprise is going to be an absolute waste of time. Excuse me, I lost my train of thought. My dog is going crazy in the background right now. I have two Dachshunds and a Doberman, and the Doberman's going crazy. So anyway, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but the reason I avoid the credit card question is because it's a rough one. I personally believe that the United States is going to experience something worse than hyperinflation in the next few years, and I also believe that there's a good chance that we will have a new currency in the next several years. So, and actually the hyperinflation thing, I don't even think it's going to be several years. I think we're looking at months. Could happen in 2009, could happen in 2010. I think severe inflation will happen in 2009. But regardless of deflation, inflation, because I know that sparks that, of course, those words are going to spark that debate. Even the biggest deflation bugs believe the end result of all these stimulus packages and deficit spending and big government is going to end in hyperinflation. So looking at that as the end result, it's hard to say, yeah, you have $50,000 in credit card debt, suck it up and try to pay that down, when it may be easier, the shortcut may be buying gold and silver and growing yourself out of the debt. Let's say you get 5 ounces of gold, and gold's at $10,000 an ounce in a year and a half, 2 years, and you pay off all the debt. But in the meantime, you're going to be dealing with calls from creditors, possible judgments, possible wage garnishments. So, in my opinion, the first thing I would do if I was in a situation where I had a lot of debt, I would contact a bankruptcy attorney. And I know Susie Orman and what's the other, Dave Ramsey and all these guys are probably going to say not to do that. And, if you want to listen to them, go for it. I'm just saying my personal opinion as a private citizen is that it is probably not a bad idea to file bankruptcy, especially if you can get Chapter 7. If you can get Chapter 7, you can wipe the whole thing out and have a fresh start. If you do 13, you have to pay, I think, either 3, 4, 5 years, something like that, partially, and sometimes it can be a significant amount. Another option for your credit card debt is to try to renegotiate your actual principal balance. Now, it's not hard at all to renegotiate your interest rates. I remember probably about 6 or 7 years ago, I had some credit card debt, and I just called them up. I think I had like 13%, and they dropped it down to like 7% for me, no problem. But renegotiating the principal, I've been told by a lot of people, as well as I've read credit books and stuff like that, that it's sometimes it's to your advantage to actually default on them for a few months and then renegotiate. Of course, you have to have the discipline to, while you're defaulting, to take some extra money and put it to the side, so you have actually something. So you have to have some money to settle with them, and that's probably the hardest thing for people who are in credit card debt. Is, okay, they're like, okay, I'm going to default on my credit cards and I'm going to renegotiate in 6 months when I've saved up, $6,000 or whatever. But most of them rarely save $6,000. They just end up spending more, and they end up in 6 months with defaults on all their credit cards, Some of the credit card companies are probably getting ready to file lawsuits or send them to collections or try to go down the route of wage garnishments. And of course, in 6 months, the person hasn't saved anything, so they have no bargaining power, and they're basically screwed. So they put themselves in a worse situation. So if you're going to default, in order to renegotiate, you have to have the discipline to put some money to the side to settle with these guys. Now, again, the easiest thing is bankruptcy. A lot of people are going to say, "Oh, it's going to ruin your credit for 7 years." If you have the mindset of not living in debt and you change your entire lifestyle, it shouldn't matter what your credit score is. Now, a good credit score is an asset. Don't get me wrong, especially if you want to start a business. It's good to have good credit. But we have been conditioned to believe that we can't live without a good credit score. That without a good credit score, our lives are unmanageable. But, you shouldn't have to rely on debt. You shouldn't have to rely on borrowing all the time. In fact, you should be able to, your ultimate goal is, of course, to live within your means. You want to run your household like a business, and I'll talk more on that later. I run my house like a business. I have logbooks in each car of everything that's spent, so that when we're out, I run my house just like a business. And I'll have to do a video on that about just living a frugal life and how much you'll have more. I believe you'll have enjoyment of living a frugal life. A lot of people think frugal, they think cheap, but actually, I have a lot of fun. I mean, I go on a lot of vacations for free, and I've told all my friends how to do it, but nobody I know does it except for my in-laws started doing it. So, but I go to a lot of timeshare meetings, and I do the 90-minute meeting and just tell them no, and I get free vacations all the time. And I go to 2 timeshares a month. 2 timeshare meetings a month, and I have these vacations lined up for the next year or two. So, frugal living is not cheap living; it's just smart living. I shop at 3 grocery stores. I Costco for bulk. I go to a place called Winco for my produce, and a place called Stater Brothers for my meats. So, frugal living is really just smart living. So, it has to be a change in lifestyle, and of course, you never ever do the buy now, pay later. Never buy the couch that you don't have to pay for in a year, or buy the TV that you don't have to pay for in a year. All those items should be paid for with your savings. You should be paying for them cash if you want them. You don't want to borrow to consume. The only things you really should get loans on are for obviously businesses, because you're borrowing to invest, and of course it should be something that is realistic. I wouldn't take a $50,000 loan out to start an ACN business, or whatever these. What are some more of these? The medical mailers and all this stuff. Anyway, so you have to be cautious when you borrow, but you never borrow to consume. You never borrow to buy Nikes or sweaters or anything ever. Period. So it has to be a change in lifestyle, of course, and we'll go over the lifestyle change over the next few weeks. But getting back to the credit card debt, try to renegotiate your principal balance. If you are comfortable with it, file bankruptcy. As far as the debt consolidation companies, people who I know who've gone to those, it seems like you're just paying somebody to do what you could do anyway. You're paying them to renegotiate your payments. The other guys, there's 2. One of them just renegotiates the rates, and then there's the other ones who actually try to negotiate settlements for you, which is basically they have you purposely default for 6 months, and then they renegotiate your terms. Meanwhile, they're collecting some money from you every month, and you're supposed to be saving. You could do that yourself. So I think you should try to do it by yourself. Try to renegotiate your debts. Of course, you go for the smallest one first. Pay off the $1,200 American Express first, and then pay off the $10,000 Chase or whatever you've got. And again, I'm not gonna lie, that's the hard way. It might take years to get out of credit card debt. That's why I do think you should have some gold and silver to try to help you grow yourself out of the credit card debt as well. As far as, let's say you're in a situation where you either have nothing left over. Let's say you've cut back on insurance. Maybe you've been cut back on hours, so you're not making as much money, and you have basically enough to either pay your bills or save. And I think number one, if that's the case, you're probably a great candidate for bankruptcy. And if I was in your shoes, I personally believe that savings and saving for the future is more important than paying your consumer credit cards. Obviously you need a car, pay your car. You need to pay your utility bills, but paying those consumer credit cards, first of all, racking all that debt up was a mistake. So, and maybe some people might say, well, it's a mistake not to pay them off, and you're just going to default on them. But I think having some type of savings is more important. And if you can renegotiate your terms with your credit card companies, try to set it up to where, let's say you have $300 a month, and $150 goes to savings, and $150 goes towards building up that pool of money that you're going to use to make settlements on these guys. Now, I don't know the laws of every single state. I know that basically the situation is they're going to call you all the time once you start defaulting. Then it's going to go to a collection agency, then it's going to go to an attorney, then they're going to file suit, and then you're going to get a judgment, and then maybe they'll garnish your wages. So what you want to do in the beginning when you first negotiate, don't negotiate from a position of weakness. You want to negotiate from a position of strength. So you want to write them a letter and get a financial statement. You want to let them know the dire financial situation you're in. Get a letter from your CPA and have them write a letter and let them know that whoever you are, Vision Victory has no resources to pay these debts off. If you're on unemployment, use that right now. Use that as a tool. Let them know that you're on unemployment, that the situation is bleak, and try to get those debts paid off. And once you get those debts paid off, you want to stay debt free. For those of you who are at a minimal debt, you've only got $2,000-3,000, do your best to pay it off. But overall, it is a lifestyle change. It'll take another video to talk about the overall lifestyle change, but I would love to share with you guys how I live my life. And trying to think of how to put this, but I don't live a life of extravagance. I often tell people a story back in 04 or 05, I can't remember, but the year I made the most money in my life. Basically, I sold a ton of properties that year. And that year, I was driving around in a 1992 Toyota pickup. It squeaked 30 feet before I hit the red light when I was, hitting the brakes. And a lot of people said, that was cheap. But what I was doing was I was, saving all of that money that I would have been putting towards a car payment. And eventually I got rid of the car, and I have another Toyota Tacoma. I have the bigger model, the Toyota Tacoma, and a Nissan Altima. So I don't drive an Escalade. I never wore my money on my sleeve, so to speak. I've never, flaunted, years that I've made really good money, or I wear the same shoes that I've been wearing for the last year. And in fact, the only reason I have new shoes is because I got a Doberman a year ago, and she destroyed them. So I had to get some new shoes. And even then, I didn't pay for them. I just told everybody it was right around my birthday. And I just told people that I needed new shoes. So my mother-in-law got me some shoes, and my dad got me some shoes. So still didn't pay for them, but I'm not into brand names. People who get into brand names, I'll be honest with you, I don't understand that. People get obsessed with BB and Coach purses, and different brand. I'm sorry, I really don't know all of them because I'm just not into it. I don't get that at all. I guess there is just this idolization of movie stars and rich people, but I think that's just something people need to snap out of, and it's so hard because Americans, especially middle-class Americans, they have been conditioned to covet everything that's on the billboards. The poorest. I run a ministry. I don't run the ministry. I'm the CFO in a ministry that focuses on feeding the homeless. And where the homeless hang out is a very impoverished area. And a few weeks ago, I was knocking on doors, inviting people to a Christmas barbecue that we were doing. And I was in some very, very poor neighborhoods. And I'm talking, in Southern California, these houses are selling for like 25, 30 grand. Poor areas. And there were Navigators, the Lincoln Navigators in driveways, Mercedes. These are very nice cars in this impoverished area. And that mindset, it's sad because people they've become enslaved to looking like they're rich. And, most people, look at it this way, most people you talk to seem to be living these perfect lives. At least that's the front they put on. But yet the average American is in debt to their eyeballs. So it just goes back to my macroeconomic videos of a phony type prosperity. Not only the entire country, but its citizens have a phony borrowed prosperity. And it's not real prosperity if you're borrowing to consume. So if you're going to live a debt-free life and change your lifestyle, the first thing you need to do is you need to detach yourself from that consumerism. And I don't know how you're going to do it because I know a lot of people are addicted to it. It's like a drug. I have family members who've had a new car every 6 months. They've repoed probably more than half of them. They have, the best, very best clothes. When I show up and see them, they have these $200-$300 shirts. And of course, I hate to bring this up, but I know they don't watch the videos. But some of these people owe me money because I wanted to help them out at certain times and medically or whatever, and loan them money. And of course, they've never paid me a dime back. Yet they have the most expensive clothes, they have the nicest cars, nicest shoes, and they just live very empty lives. I don't understand that, and we'll have to talk about that again. And I look forward to the open discussion on debt. I know this video may be controversial to a lot of people because purposely defaulting on your debt to get your financial house in order sounds kind of backwards, but I think getting out of debt is important, and any legal way of doing it is, I think an option. So of course the first legal way is bankruptcy. So I said bankruptcy, but I know a lot of people are going to give me flack over it. But the fact is that's a legal way to get a fresh start. So I will talk to you all Friday for a macroeconomic news update, and then following that, a few days later, probably next Tuesday, I don't know what we're going to talk about, maybe 401ks, or maybe we'll get into that discussion on that mindset of coveting and really just being obsessed with materialism, this hyper-materialism that Americans suffer from. I think one documentary called it the disease of affluenza. So, talk to you all soon. And again, thank you for watching my videos. And if you enjoy my videos, please subscribe. Subscribe, put in for a friend request, comment. You guys have a great one. Talk to you soon.